Hello, friends. Hope you're doing well. So, after resisting the siren call of Warhammer 40k for the last year or so, I finally bit the bullet and decided to get into the hobby. What has kept me away from Warhammer for so long, even though it looked like something that I would totally enjoy and be all about, is two things mostly. Is one, the complexity of the game, and two, the investment in the game, both in terms of money, because to build a 2,000 point army, it looked like you had to spend a couple $100s, but then also just the time investment in collecting the pieces, putting them together, painting them so they look presentable, and learning all the rules to get to the point where you could actually play a game. So it's interesting. At this point, I finally took the plunge and got some miniatures, but at this point, I've probably already spent 15 or 20 hours worth of research to decide kind of what to get. And the thing that changed everything for me and made me decide to take the plunge was a variant known as Kill Team. The thing about Warhammer, if you're unfamiliar, is that you build these big armies and it's turn-based. I move all my armies, then you go, you move your whole army. And the armies comprise of, I don't know, dozens, maybe not dozens. Depends on how big they are, how small they are. They're worth more points, and that ups to a 2,000 point game. But you might have as many as 25 to 50 little pieces, and it's like, okay, well, the cost of that is not cheap. The time it takes to put them all together is not cheap. Time's not free. And then learning how to play the game is another step on top of that, and then you have to actually find someone to play with. So there were a lot of barriers to getting me to play, but Kill Team kind of simplified that for me. You have essentially it's squad-based combat, and it's faster paced in terms of I move a guy, you move a guy, instead of moving 50 pieces. We're just taking turns moving one person at a time. And then once we've each moved all of our guys once, that's a turn or a turning point. I'm still trying to figure out the lingo. But what I ended up starting with is just this Kill Team starter set. It wasn't so... When I was doing the research, I started by wanting to be a tactical Space Marine team because the models look the coolest, and that seems like a great reason to pick a team over another. And it seems like the rule set was fairly simple. And there was a box, is like a tactical squad that looked like you could build a kill team out of it. And some people were like, oh, well, maybe you should, if you want to do Space Marines, you should do this. That's what a lot of people were saying. It's like, oh, you just do Deathwatch. And I'm like, oh, those models look stupid. And then I was showing my girlfriend some of them, and I was like, oh, you know what, babe, you would really like the orcs. So showed her the orcs, and the orcs in the kill team are actually like pretty neat and pretty fun. And what's great about the orcs is they're like big dumb idiots that like just kind of smash stuff they find together to make weapons, and like that kind of appeals to me. Is they're just like, let's just smash and let's have no theory or anything to it. And so that was kind of my second choice, was the orcs from the Space Marines. And a friend of mine hooked me up in a really big way. He gave me a whole sprue of Space Marines, so we have that to get started. And as I'm doing more research, I'm finding out that like this wouldn't be a legal kill team. It would be something called a proxy, which apparently you can just show up with miniatures and be like, this is this. And people are like, okay. As long as it's like pretty similar, like the immersion isn't completely ruined, you can kind of just show up with like a Space Marine and be like, this is this. Think of that. And most people are just like cool with it. Because that came out of the Leviathan big box, and he placed the other team, Tyranids or whatever, so he wasn't ever going to make the Space Marines. And he was like, when I got started, everyone gave me a bunch of stuff, so now I'm passing it on. I'm like, sweet. So he gave me a couple brushes, a couple paints, and feeling pretty good about that. And then I went to a couple different hobby shops, and here's my biggest critique. I think I went to 3 hobby shops, and at one of them they said hello when I walked in, but aside from that, in the hour and a half I was in those 3 hobby shops, no one talked to me, no one asked me any questions, and it was like super Like, and I was talking to my girlfriend about this. She's like, okay, I thought it was just because I was a girl every time I'd go to a comic book store. It's like, no, they just don't talk to people, I guess. And I don't know if it's just because of the demographic of the hobby stores is like, if they have a question, they're going to come to you. And, you know, they don't want to be talked to otherwise, which makes sense. I mean, hobby shops tend to attract the neurodivergent, and they don't always want to go into that stuff. But I finally went to the actual Warhammer store we have here in Omaha, and the owner, his name's Dave, super nice dude, instantly was like, hey, who are you? Like, what are you doing here? Like, not in like an accusatory way. That makes me that makes him sound like a jerk, but he was super nice. It was like, who are you? Like, I don't know you. Like, what are you doing in the store? And I was like, okay, well, this is like the first guy that's like actually talked to me about Warhammer, aside from my friend Nathan, who gave me, you know, these nice Space Marines and gave me a bunch of advice and some starting points. And I was like, okay, I want to do, you know, Space Marines. I want to be Kill Team and how am I getting to 40K? And his recommendation was, if you want to get into 40K, just do 40K, because Kill Team is different than 40K. Like, they're similar, but it's not the same. It's like poker is kind of the same as solitaire, but like they use cards. Like, it's not, you know, like they're two different games. Maybe that was a terrible analogy. I'm still learning. Give me a break. So I was telling him, I was like, oh, okay, I'm kind of on Space Marines and and they didn't have kind of the tactical squad pack that I was looking at, which apparently it's maybe going to be discontinued here soon because they're older models that are smaller and people don't like them as much. Just like whatever. And so he kind of sold me on the idea of getting just the starter kit, because I was like, well, my second choice is orcs because my girlfriend likes them and thinks they're fun and stupid. And he's like, well, you know, like if she likes them, like that might be a good, you get the starter kit because you get the whole orc pack. And if you just bought the orc Kill Team by itself, it's $60. And then for an extra $40 basically, you get a whole other army. So I got the Krieg, is that what they're called? Veteran Guardsman Kill Team. I guess they're Krieg or something. I don't know. I'm still learning. Give me a break. Plus you get like a playmat and some terrain and like a rule book and some dice. So like, not a bad deal for like 100. I spent like $105 out the door with Nebraska sales tax. And he's kind of just like, okay, well, you get the Krieg. And I was like, oh, I don't really care about them. He's like, well, yeah, but then he's like, you don't know what you're doing painting. Like, now you have 10 models that you could just completely fuck up and not care about. And I was like, smart. And he's like, and you could play with your lady friend and maybe she gets into it. And it's like, also smart. So, Dave, you're a smart guy. Thanks for your help today. And I think, so here's the plan. Here's the Kill Team plan. If I like Kill Team, which it seems like it's my stuff. I've always played strategy games, tactical games, turn-based games. Then I'm going to go expand into a combat patrol with, I'm going to get some orcs. The orc combat patrol, and I think I'll play orcs. Or maybe I'll also go Space Marines. And maybe I'll still get, maybe if I really like Kill Team. So I think there's three ways this could go. Is I really like doing the models. If that's the case, then we're going combat patrol. I really like Kill Team. That's the second way it could go. Then I'm going to buy the Space Marine tactical pack that I originally wanted because I like the models. And that way I'll have technically four armies. Or the third way is that I just don't enjoy any of it and then I just sell it for a loss. But like, I don't know, if I get like a couple hours worth of time to like put these together and play a couple games, and like that's a pretty cheap way if you think about it. Like, going to a movie costs like $15-20. Like, so this pack is $100. It's like if I get 10 games out of it plus the time building it, like that's not a bad use of your dollar to fun. So the stress level is pretty low. So I'm excited to get started on my Warhammer journey. I wanted to make a video because I make videos for a living, and I wanted to it's fun. It's fun to do video journals and just kind of like talk about what I'm thinking, and then I can go back to it. It's neat and it's fun and it's cool. And I don't get to talk to the camera a lot. Most of the time I'm behind the camera. I'm not making videos. So yeah, if you have any tips for a new Kill Team / Warhammer player, drop them in the comments. Or, I don't know, maybe you'll find this like 20 years from now. I'm like, well, this fucking loser playing Kill Team. And I'll be old and I won't care. So anyway, thank you for watching if you did. And past man, remember how excited you were when this was new?